Because Niels Bohr was one of those unpopular quantum mechanical physicists back in the 50s and 60s who put forward this idea of non-locality or superpositioning, that when we look at these states, look at this, when you examine the structure of an atom, this is a palladium atom, and it's at a speed that makes modern photography look like, you know, the slowest shutter speeds. My camera shoots 1/8,000th of a second. That's the fastest SLR that's on the market. Now it's really slow by comparison. This is like 1/450,000ths of a second. And this is supposedly a nuclear event that doesn't kick off. Now when they're having this collision, they're trying to create nuclear fission, right? Nuclear fission is an explosion. Nuclear fusion is like when we're welding, right? Now in this photograph, if they actually created the fission, they wouldn't be able to get a photograph because you'd have an explosion. But when they don't get the adequate explosion, what do they get? They get these images. Now, if you look carefully, if I were to take a .22 caliber bullet and shoot a watermelon, the point of entry would be about that big. The point of exit would be like this. So what you're seeing here is a cesium particle, which is this subatomic part of a cesium atom, which is already radioactive and very, very hostile to any form of life because it just corrupts DNA. It's a carcinogen. And it's radiating at such a high vibration that anything it comes into contact with, it interferes with in its structure, in its electromagnetic design or composition. And they use that to send along this 14-mile long it's a cave, and it's a big circle. I won't show you the photographs, but it's a grand collider, and they try to get those particles getting to what speed?
Near the speed of light.
Near the speed of light, which is?
300,000 km.
300,000 km per second. That's Einstein's constant, but it's not true. It's not a constant. There is something faster than the speed of light. What is that?
Sound.
Nope. Mind. There are scientific experiments that show that there is conscious non-locality, or what Erwin Laszlo and others refer to as cognitive non-locality, which is experimental evidence which suggests that people can experience the same event in different parts of the world without a time lag. Now they have evidence, or they suppose that they can actually measure how long it would take a beam of light to go from New York to CERN, Switzerland, say. Now, if you put two people who are simpatico, there are all these different kinds of twins and lovers who have this telepathic affinity, they put them in Faraday cages on different parts of the planet. And they found that if they subject one to this very sort of hostile strobe effect, they'll watch an EKG pattern where the brain will start to exhibit a response to that strobe effect, which is almost spontaneous, right? And then, guess what? Their friend in a Faraday cage, which is a sealed lead cage, which prevents any kind of radioactivity or field effects or light or sound to come into it. And yet that person on the other side of the planet will exhibit the same electromagnetic pattern at exactly the same time, with no time lag. That is very, very uncomfortable for modern science. It's called cognitive translocality. There are many names for it, or at least they're fumbling for the right nomenclature, but they don't really want to actually name it because it's not very nice to admit. Now, what we're watching in this photograph is an explosion inside the atom of a palladium, inside the structure of a palladium atom. You see these? These are the layers of a shell of an atom. This is supposedly the nucleus of the atom. Now, we have to take it for granted that they're speaking the truth. I am humbly submitting to you, I don't know. I am not equipped to challenge them. But if they are speaking the truth, a lot of questions arise. One is, watch this. This is the fulcrum, or the center of the magnetic balance of the body, just like in a solar system. That would be the sun, right? Right? So, why does this cross appear? Nobody knows, but these crosses appear and nobody knows what they are. But when that cesium particle enters the nucleus, what happens? All these subatomic particles spin out into the body of the atom, and they have new electromagnetic centers. So there's a new electromagnetic orientation when this event occurs. Nobody understands why. That means that it shifts from this to this, or it incorporates both. That this loses its absolute influence on these subatomic particles, and we have new spheres of magnetic reference. That is, again, a big question mark. Where are all those particles going? Plus, every time you blow up an atom like plutonium, uranium, palladium, you lose at least 1.168% mass, which means we've just defeated the first law of thermodynamics. Who knows the laws of thermodynamics? At least the first two. Ever heard of them?
Entropy and then
Entropy is number two.
Rationality.
No. First one is conservation.
Conservation.
Who can define what conservation means in the laws of physics, i.e. thermodynamics? Amaya? Conservation? It means we can't destroy or create matter or energy. We can only watch it metamorphose. Right? Now, that has nothing to do with this photograph. Actually, this photograph defeats the first law of thermodynamics. The second law of thermodynamics is defeated in this laboratory. Why? Because every year, guess what? They need more cesium and more velocity and faster momentum, which means more amps, to create the same amount of fission. Why am I shouting? What does that mean? That means no entropy, no inertia. That metal is conscious, it's coherent, it's actually exhibiting an anti-pathogenic response. And it doesn't matter if you get that palladium from South Africa or South America, it's conscious. Why? Because it's exhibiting non-local coherence. Why is that important? Help me. Why is that important? Alexei?
Completely absurd, but no answer.
Why is this important? What's your name? My name is Gopi Vallabhadas. Do you mind introducing yourself? Selwyn? I'm sorry, one more time. Antara. Any idea why non-local coherence in metals? It's called metallurgic non-locality, or metallurgic transcoherence. There are several different names for this phenomenon, but why is it important? Tell me your name again.
Divya.
Divya. Come on, Divya. Why am I yammering and shouting and on a soapbox about this? Please.
Because are they dissecting the fundamentals of creation and getting it wrong? In my view, that this theory, this project, isn't something that has a means to an end.
Can everyone hear Divya? Can everyone hear her?
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Jai Simon.
I want to show you something. That's well said. It's not a means to an end, but even more importantly, metals are conscious. Everything is conscious. Who knows that verse in the Brahma Samhita? Angam tarasta paramanam chayantarastam govindamari purusham tamaham gujani. Krishna's presence in every atom is full and complete. That means Krishna is consciously entering every single atom throughout space, which means there's a holographic relationship between the micro and the macro, which is mirroring itself, because Krishna is there, which means that everything is conscious, because Krishna is present, and that there is really an illusory distinction between the micro and the macro if Krishna is connecting them both. It also means that if you go into the atom, which the yogis are alleged to do, you can enter space anywhere you want to if you know the fabric of that system. And we see this occurring in the UFO enigma. These craft, whoever pilots them, they just go in and out of conscious perception. Thousands of people, qualified scientists, military people on all levels of society have seen them appear and disappear right before our very eyes. That's technology. What we're suffering for is a kind of technological overdose in modern society where we forget that science doesn't mean necessarily technologically engrossed.